you guys, it's me, Dr. Torie. My book is officially out. And yes, it is time to talk about ACEs. You guys can find the books everywhere. However, I would encourage you guys to go to my website, VicTORIEus.com, and place your order today. Yes, it's time to talk about ACEs. Let's go, y'all. Hello, 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 you guys. It's me, Dr. Torie, coming with another episode of Be Victorious. Now, listen, it's really an honor to have the guest that we have coming today. We have been speaking for a while, and her passion, her vision, everything that she's been doing in support of adoption awareness. We're trying to let you guys know what it is and what we need to do to understand how important it is or it isn't, because the problem is we're not bringing awareness to what we need to. And when I ran into Lina, it was just an amazing sight because she knows what she's talking about. Not only does she co-host a podcast, she definitely advocates, and she's here with us. And it's my pleasure to have her here. Lina, where are you?
Hi, Dr. Torie. It's so nice to be here with you
I'm
today.
so happy to have you here
Thank
because
you.
we have been doing this. And this is the thing, you've been doing this on your own. Your passion for advocating for what you believe in is what drove me to you. And I've been sharing with so many people that it's the awareness of ACEs that's going to help, because all of these fall under that umbrella. Even though they made those updates, it's still a few updates that they need to make. And I think what you're advocating for definitely needs to be on the website for awareness. So tell our audience who you are and what you represent.
Okay. My name is Lina Vanegas, and I'm a social worker. I do work with adopted, displaced, fostered, trafficked, and stolen people. I also work with moms who have lost their children, either to foster care or adoption, or they haven't quite, their child is in care right now. So I also give national presentations on suicide prevention, and my focus is adoption and how adoption is an adverse childhood experience and a risk factor for suicide.
Y'all know I always bring some good people up on the platform, and this is one. You know why? Because she stands for what she believes in. And that's what got me to just watch her, pay attention, and see what she's doing. And she's doing work in this community. If you notice, you see how she paired it all to adverse childhood experiences. Yeah, let's have this conversation. So you know about ACEs already.
Absolutely, absolutely. A lot of people
And
don't, so I'm glad we're talking about it. I know that's your work and it's so important, but I love having these conversations.
because it needs to be in our community. And you talked about everything. You're doing the work in your community, you're doing the work nationally. And this is, we need more people like you to step up and believe that this can happen. There's so many people in my community already that's going to take you in. I'll tell you, shout out to Albert. He's out there right now advocating for foster care. And you've seen him. You've met a lot of people in the community already. I think that's what we need. That community awareness is what's going to get this information out here. And I thank you so much for stepping up to the plate and saying, yep, I'm ready, not just for adoption awareness, the consequences, the disadvantages, but suicide awareness. Let's be clear. We just had our month, but we don't need a month. We need to talk about these things every day.
We definitely do. We definitely do.
So tell us more. Do you have an ACEs score?
My personal score,
Yes.
yeah, it's very, very high, as you wouldn't be surprised by that due to my lived experience. So I hit almost all of them. I don't
And
remember the exact score, but it's very high.
and guess what? It's okay.
Yes.
It's going to be people that's going to take advantage of that. So, of course, I have to shout out my favorite. Everybody knows Mick. Mick don't hide his. He called his the perfect 10, him and Sarah. And Sarah, of course, you met her as well. They don't hide it at all, because we do not let that ACEs score define us. I have it. I'm not ashamed. I have it. My kids have it. My family has it. The world has it. We just need to bring awareness to it.
Absolutely. I
And
don't
I
think I
think
have a perfect 10. If you know what it is, you can say. I honestly, I'm not embarrassed of it. I just don't remember exactly what it is.
right.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's 1 and 3 with an ACEs score right now. So
Yeah.
join us.
Exactly.
Just the identification of taking the ACEs quiz and having an ACEs score are great steps to take. What do you do with your audience in regards to educating them on the adoption awareness? What do you do?
I mean, I tell them about I lived experience is a big part of what I center because I think that's the most important thing because
Mhm.
we don't look to the people that we're advocating for
Right,
and we don't ask them what they need and figure it out, we're not going to know, right? So I talk a lot of centering lived experience. I do talk about mine, but I talk generally about, people in general that I know. I'm not giving information, but just kind of grouping it
right,
together. There is also research out there. The research is lacking, and I'll share that because some audiences, that's more important than the actual lived experience, but
right.
it's very lacking. So I just share what is this lived experience, explaining why it is trauma, and why it is complicated trauma and intergenerational trauma. And it's really a trauma that people don't recognize. They think, oh, you're adopted, you should just be grateful, you're lucky, you have this better life, and then I always say adoption needs to be recognized as an adverse childhood experience because it is. It
Hmm.
definitely is. And with those experiences, we know it puts us at a greater risk for suicidality, addiction, incarceration, poverty, being unhoused, so many things that could be prevented.
I told y'all she was good. I said it. She's good. And we need more people out here that can advocate. I think it's your lived experience is that's going to pull other people in. We don't necessarily have to share our story, but people need to understand those lived experiences is what we use to motivate other people to share theirs. I still haven't had a chance to really thoroughly explain because ACEs has always been an household issue. And, growing up, what goes, stays in our household, let's do this. But when you have things like adoption,
Mhm,
shout out to my friend, Story,
mhm,
who came to the Kansas City Be Victorious experience and poured her heart. She was adopted. And when we went to school together, you
mhm,
know, fair skinned, beautiful young lady, but her brothers were not her at all.
mhm,
Just to have to grow up in that environment was one thing. But when she shared her story about having to go and get her birth certificate, she said it triggered her so bad because, of course, she had to reach out to her people and they weren't accepting of her.
mhm,
And I hurt for her because I know that the parents that fostered her, brought her into her house, they took care of her. But we missed that missing piece of what if something happens? What if there's, genetics, there's some things that are happening. And that's where I have to shout out Julie. She was on the podcast and she had the twin. She actually has another book out, by the way. But there are people in our community that have had this conversation. And so to have you there, not just as an advocate, but someone that can actually help lead that discussion and help people, you really don't understand unless you're in that situation how much of an effect it can have on you. So I want you to really know the work that you're doing is of God grace and you got to continue doing it because somebody's listening. I'm that somebody. I'm listening. So if nobody else is, I am.
Thank you.
You're welcome because you're doing the work. Now, what motivated this work for you? What made you go into it?
It was really it's an interesting journey because when I was young, I went to undergrad and then I went to grad school and I got a degree, I got my master's in social work, but
Mm-hmm.
I've always been conflicted of the field. I feel like the field is very homogenous. The
Mm-hmm.
field is very harmful. And I felt that way at 22 years of age. And I also felt like I can't work for $10 an hour. I know my worth. I
Okay.
just can't do that. So I veered away from social work. And I think it was best just because I wouldn't be the social worker that I am today because I had my own work to do. We can't help others and support others until we help and support ourselves, right? So
Right.
I had many different lifetimes. And then once I started to really like decolonize and deconstruct being a bought and sold person. I connected with other um, adopted, fostered, trafficked, stolen people. I really started to feel validated. Like a lot of the things I felt internally, I didn't have the language for, and I was always the other person like in the household that I grew up with, everybody was white, and that's not me. So it's like I was always like on the outside of everything, and I didn't have the language. It just became what it is, but I knew internally that wasn't like that's not natural, that's not normal.
Right.
So connecting with other people, and then I had some lived experience that was really, really harsh. My mom, I connected with my mom in Colombia. So that was a whole process, right? And talk about, when we connect with our people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't speak the language, it makes a huge, 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 like it's a huge barrier, right? So it's like
Right.
Google Translate, getting people to translate and trying to establish a relationship that you can't make up for when you've missed 38 years. Like we're always connected, right? But we
Right.
weren't like in physical space. So we have language barriers, we have so many different barriers, right? And we both come to the conversation in different spaces, right? We're both
Mm-hmm.
greatly impacted by being separated. That's
Right.
a trauma, that's a loss, that's a grief, that's something you're never going to get over or heal from or, recover from. You can find ways to live with that grief in your life. So we were in different places, and
Right.
I was still unpacking everything. And unfortunately, she ended up dying from suicide. That was in 2019. So I was like, wow, like, I really need to understand this. Like, what are moms who are impacted by adoption or CPS or the system,
Right.
what is it like for them? And I really had to unpack because there's a lot of propaganda about those moms, right? And it's
Right.
false, right? So I was like, I'm gonna talk to moms to see like what they're going through. And I found that a lot of those moms, most of the moms, right, they were living very parallel experiences to myself and other displaced people. They're dealing with suicidality, they're dealing with
Mm-hmm.
addiction, they're dealing with relationship problems, they're dealing with being unhoused, poverty, mental health struggles, all of those things, right? So I realized like it brought me back to social work. And
Mm-hmm.
I never really was like, I'm going to do this. It just kind of happened where I started sharing, and I guess enough people were like interested in what I was saying. So they would invite me into spaces, to speak about suicide prevention, right? And it's just kind of gone from there. People see what I'm doing, and then I'm lucky that they want to invite me into the space and they want to hear about the lived experience. So that's how it became to be. And then I realized like this is what I want to do. This is what I need to be doing. So I've been, connecting with other people doing it. And I mean, that's how it kind of came to be. It started, I think a lot of our work starts personally, but
Yep.
then it becomes bigger because this isn't about me anymore. This is about advocating for people so this doesn't happen. This is advocating for people that aren't here now. This is advocating for people here that, you know, aren't able to at this point because they're not safe to or they're not in that space. So I do have that privilege because I do have the privilege of a degree, and that is a privilege. I want to acknowledge that. It gets
Mm-hmm.
me into spaces that, people might not listen to me because I don't have those credentials behind my name. So that's kind of how I got into what I do today.
And that's the reason why I'm a fan. And
Thank you.
I want you in the community. And I know for a fact that the community is going to accept you because they share the same story, not just your story of lived experiences. I have people, and I will share, I am a dissertation coach. Been a dissertation coach since I got my degree because it's people like us, like you said, with the lived experiences, following our passions, doing what we're doing. That was the push for me to go back to get my doctorate degree. I will share. Um, my dissertation coach or dissertation chair, shout out to Dr. So. I still talk to her to this day. We actually do conferences where she is the dissertation chair and I'm the dissertation coach. And we share what you just said because there are people out there like us. I remember her asking, like, what are you so passionate? You're passionate about so much. What are you passionate about? And I really wanted to get to the bottom of understanding ACEs.
Mhm.
It was that talk. I shared with everybody that Dr. Nadine Burke said. I started my dissertation in 2014. It fell in my face. I said, this is it. This is it. And that was it for me. So let's be clear. Yeah, you have those people that don't have it, but those live experiences speaks volumes because that makes you a matter subject or a matter expert, period, regardless of your credentials. So that's what I love about you because yes, you have the credentials. Yes, you're in social work. But if you haven't realized the Lord has paired you
Mhm.
because you're advocating for not just yourself but a community, for your family, for others that share the same qualities. You now have that community already. So number one, congratulations.
Thank you.
Number two, I'm in the community too because really we're saying the same thing. We really are. I'm aces hands down. You are too because everything that you talked about, the suicide, the adoption issues, the abortion. We've talked about so much. Like people don't understand you can meet so many positive people if you just open up your eyes and understand and listen. And I think that's what's been our relationship this whole entire time because you are out here, you are movement by yourself, honey. And let's be clear, I've seen your community. You've done research. So those lived experiences and talking to people, that's the research. So now I hear people, yeah, I did my research. You're supposed to, because you'll understand that you're not alone in your journey and you are not alone at all. There are so many people that support you right now. You talked about your community. Tell me more about your community because you advocate for the people in Colombia for sure. So tell me more about your community.
I'm starting to do some work in Colombia with
Mhm,
some group of other Colombian people, but that's not the majority of my work.
mhm,
Mostly it's with adopted, displaced, foster, traffic, and stolen people. So I'll
perfect.
support them,
Mhm,
we'll deconstruct their lived experience, right? They're the expert in that I'm just coming alongside them.
mhm,
Also work with the moms in the same capacity. They're the expert in their lived experience, and I come
mhm.
along with suggestions, so that's who I work with in terms of like interpersonally and one-on-one, and it's
Don't downplay yourself, Lena. You're an expert, baby girl. Quit
big.
downplaying yourself because you do it. You're helping. You're advocating. I see it. Because soon as you post, I'm posting, I'm sharing. Do
Thank
I, do I not? Like, let's be clear, because that's what we need to bring more awareness to the issues that we really have a passion to advocate for. And you are doing it. So
thank you.
your motivation and push,
Mhm.
can I say it's not just you, but it was your mom?
Yeah, my mom, I would say definitely my mom. Like that was a big experience. I did have another experience where someone I was, had a big part of my life was adopted and they died by suicide in 2014. So that was like the first one. And then my mom came in 2019, and I was just like, that really impacted the way I was going to do or what I was going to do in terms of my work. So, yeah, definitely my mom, definitely my lived experience, definitely the other person. And then just, when I connect with other people, I'm just like, every time I work with an adopted, displaced, fostered, or trafficked or stolen person, or I work with a mom, there is never an incident. There's never like a situation where I'm like, I have this all wrong. I don't, I just realize like the corruption, the trauma, the struggle, the pain, the torture, all of
Mhm.
that, so it's like I can't turn away from it.
Right.
It kind of it empowers me to do the work and
Mhm.
use the voice that I have.
Dr. Thelma said that people with ACEs or people with trauma, we kind of tend to, it's soothing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, First 48 is a great show. Law and Order
Mhm.
are great shows. Shout out to my new shows on Hulu, Reasonable Doubt.
I'll have to
And
check that out.
yeah, I like it. I do. And then Unprisoned
Okay. I
with
don't know.
Carrie Washington she
Yeah.
has always advocated for adverse childhood experiences. She don't hide it at all. She talks about it in her book. But just to see authors like Terry McMillan, Hulu really bring people, there are shows out there that bring awareness to these things. And I think once we make it reasonable, you're doing that by having the discussion. You're doing that by advocating and supporting the people that you're advocating for. You're doing this for your mother. You're doing it for yourself. We just need to get more people in the community. And you have your community, and I have mine. We're going to continue to educate, and we're going to get it out there so more people can feel comfortable by not just sharing their stories, but being comfortable and knowing that they're not alone in their journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for creating this space where we can have these conversations, because these conversations are so, so, so important.
And I appreciate you for coming in because I think once people get in the space, it's like, oh, so many people get so nervous. It's like, oh my God, Dr. Torie, you're so, no, I'm not. I am just a person just like you, passionate about getting this information out here. Just imagine episode one, I was alone. And here I am. I found so many valuable people. You are a hero to me.
Thank you.
No, you are because not just the social work aspect, it's the people that have came to you. You got to think about it from that. Once you advocate and people see that, they lean to that. They want that support because we didn't have that growing up.
No.
So that's where mentorship comes in for me. I've always been a mentor because I don't want people to experience what I experienced growing up. So whether it's the abuse, the neglect, the household dysfunction, or the community adversities, it's ACEs. And
Yes.
I just like how you've paired it together. It takes a minute for some people to understand that suicide is really a big deal. It's something that we should be talking about more because I feel like there's the hints, but we don't take advantage of the hints. I have a cousin that just passed away in June. It hurt me bad because I
Sorry.
felt like because we disconnected, I didn't get a chance because I know for a fact if he would have came to me, I definitely would have did the best I can. It just hurts. It hurts because you have to live with that. But under that umbrella, it's definitely under that ACEs umbrella, and we have to bring awareness to as much as we can because awareness will save lives.
Mhm. It will. And I'm sorry about your loss. And I just want to say it's not your fault that you didn't get to connect. Yeah, it's very complicated, but
It
it is
is.
something that stays with you forever. It changes you, and it changes the way that we move through the world. At least for me, it has. It's changed the way I see things. It's changed the way I do things. There's like life before, and then
Right.
there's life after. And you find a way to, or I found a way to, you know live, right? And it is
Mm-hmm.
that like grief running through, but there are ways to find support groups, get support, whatever support means. But yeah, it is one of those experiences that I wish on nobody.
And I agree. So I'm going to ask you a good question
Please.
because we've seen for me, it was the updates in June of 2023 that made me say, thank you, God, because in 2019, these are the things that I was advocating for. Racism.
Mm-hmm. Yep, 100%.
Racial discrimination should have been on there a long time ago, but
It
let's
should
be
have been.
clear.
Yep. Yep.
What else
Mhm.
should be included
Mhm.
on the ACEs awareness on the CDC's website?
Mhm. Adoption should be included. Yep. Yep.
Why should adoption be included?
Because if it was included, people would actually probably recognize more that it is an adverse childhood experience and it is trauma. And people miss I feel like so many dots are not connected with it. There's, we know when children don't live with biological parents or a biological parent, that's an adverse childhood experience.
Mhm.
But it needs to be like in on that survey so people can connect those dots.
And I agree. And guess what? On my survey, I would love to add it because
Yeah.
it's no shade. I got the approval from CDC.
Mhm.
The initial study set over 17,000 people back in 1995.
Yeah.
Of course, people weren't having the discussions we're having in
No.
2024. The 10 question survey is just a 10 question survey to bring awareness.
Yeah.
I even had what's interesting one time I did a conference and someone was like, oh, I'm sure she's abusing HIPAA laws. And I started laughing because, again, I'm not the only one that has a quiz out there. Everybody has a quiz. I just made my quiz more educational to bring the awareness to people. However, I would love to put, because I'm a researcher,
Mhm.
hint,
Yeah.
hint,
Yeah.
I would love to put that on the part or
Mhm.
an additional question um, about adoption. I would,
Mhm.
because I think it will bring awareness to it a lot more.
Mhm.
And that's the information that I feed. There are people that not just use my research to get into college, they're using it to expand trauma awareness everywhere. It's a pretty good one. I mean, let's be clear, it's as good as that book. Let's be clear, because it's a reference. That's really all it is. It's an awareness tool, just like the ACEs quiz is an awareness tool. People need to be more aware of sex trafficking. We're
Yes,
not having that conversation either, but we need to, because it all falls under the ACEs umbrella.
it does.
Any last things you want to share with our community? I am personally inviting you to the community. I will share all of your information, I promise, to whoever I can. I know you know our podcast streams worldwide. But I don't just accept everybody, and I'm not saying that. I want people to understand ACEs, and you're perfect. And I know for a fact the community will take you in and love on you because they're going to agree with everything that we have talked about today.
Thank
I
you.
thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having this conversation and having me here today. It's an awesome environment. You're welcoming. I mean, I was never worried. I love doing podcasts. It's one of my favorite things to do. So
Yes,
I love it. And I've enjoyed our conversation and I hope we can continue it,
of
find
course.
ways to collaborate. I mean, there's lots of
Yes.
opportunities out there. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm ready. Send me what you need because I know that you co-host the podcast I do. Let
Yeah.
me know what we can do as far as getting this awareness out because that's why we're here. We're here to help people. Our lived experiences is the reason why we want to save people's lives. And I think you're amazing. Always have. And I'm glad that I got the opportunity to sit with you. Let our listeners know where they can find you.
They can find me on Instagram at Lina Leads with Love or Lina Vanegas on Facebook or Lina Leads with Love on Twitter and also on X. And then I just took the dive down TikTok. I hope I don't regret it. And I'm Lina Leads with Love there. So thanks for asking. I do have My website is not up. That is coming soon.
And we'll be here. And you're stuck with me, so I mean,
Good, thank you. And you're stuck with
this it wouldn't matter. We're gonna find you. I'm on TikTok too, but I find I'm learning because we're all learning together to just find the space where
Mhm.
you can use and then use that space as a tool to help you with the other spaces. So I'll
Absolutely.
post on X every now and again, and then it'll be five people that say something, and I just elaborate on that. So
Yes.
we just got to get a feel of it. I hate to say this, but social media, I wasn't born in the social media
Same.
empire.
Yes.
So I had a rotary phone on the.
Yeah, I did too.
Oh,
Exactly.
okay,
And
okay,
I had an answering machine, and there were pagers
yes,
back in high school, and
yes,
the library, what is it, the card catalog? I mean, no, Google, all of it. You know,
all of it. The
yep,
encyclopedias, the thick ones. Yes,
exactly. Actual
and I
dictionaries.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm still okay with it. I was
Me too.
showing she was actually on our podcast. She's going to get her doctorate degree. I showed her my folder of ACE's information,
Wow.
and it was about this big. And she was like, "My God!" I said, "Baby, but you can't tell me anything about it. Like, you want to know about ACEs? I will spit it out." But that's the purpose. Those lived experiences will create that for you because you'll be able to do that. And I'm telling you, you're a subject matter expert in your area, and we need to hear more from you. You know about our lunch and learns?
I do. I've attended a couple. It's hard at lunch,
Yeah.
but I attend when I can. Yes, I do.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And people don't know we really actually do learn. And people come on, and it's people that actually chime in, and it's like, oh, but I didn't know this. And then they chime in and they stay and then they join us. So for our listeners, join us. Lena has been a part of the community. We just have the pleasure of hearing from her and her story and how powerful she is and how she shares and exposes the world to awareness is what we need. So I thank you so much again for joining us. You will see us, you guys. We will be collaborating and we will be working together. And for this, I say, this is, of course, a great episode of Be Victorious. I thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so
All
much.
our listeners, we appreciate you guys for listening to us, but make sure you all follow Lena and you will be seeing more from us soon. Thank you guys again for another fabulous episode of Be Victorious. You know where to find me everywhere. Everywhere. LinkedIn too. Let me shout it out because I've been getting a lot of love from LinkedIn. So thank you guys so much for just sharing my information. Don't forget about my book. It's out there, and I will be tuning in to everybody and supporting everyone that supports me. We thank you guys so much for another episode of Be Victorious. We'll talk to you guys soon. Bye bye, you guys.